Hi, my name is Kyle. This is CRE number one. And the question for today is: do you fear death? My answer to that question is yes, I do fear death. As far as how that fear manifests itself in my daily life, I think I just try to live, as cautiously as possible, within reason. I'm not out there doing, crazy thrill-seeking stuff, jumping out into traffic, jumping out of planes, stuff like that. So I don't think it's like something that manifests itself in my life daily. But I do make simple choices, just trying to put myself in situations or trying to not put myself in situations that are more likely to give myself the opportunity to die. Um, and as far as how I combat that fear, I feel like I probably don't do a really good job of it. I kind of take that fear and I just kind of push it to the back of my head, try not to think about it as much as possible. And I think a lot of that reason is because as a society, we've kind of made death a taboo subject. It's something that we don't want to talk about. As Dr. Hernandez said in lecture, that wasn't always the way it was. It was sometimes in history more of a public thing. It was very much more talked about. Um, Death was not as somber even as it is now. It was more, a celebration of a person's life when it happened. It's like you're sad that they're not here anymore, but happy that they lived this great life. And I think it's as I've taken this class, it's kind of come to the front of my mind a little bit more, especially with a couple of the course medias that we've read. The first being Candy Chang's Before I Die TED Talk. That one was a really big one for me because it made me realize that there's still a lot of things that I want to do while I'm here. I'm young and I haven't done a lot of things, relatively speaking. So there's still a lot of stuff that I want to do. Another course media that we read, the tail end, kind of highlighted how much time with like my family and my friends that I've already spent, and that's time that I'm not going to get back. And I need to. It makes me kind of think that I need to, cherish the time that I have left and make the most of it. Um, as far as fearing something more than death, I don't really think that I have anything that I fear more than death. A lot of my fears are rooted in death. Like, so I don't know that anything to me is scarier than death. And I don't even think for me that it's like the act of dying that's so scary or what happens after death, because as a Christian, I believe that I'm going to go to heaven. And so there's some comfort for me knowing that when I die, that I'm going to a better place. And even if I am wrong, if that's not the case, you're just going to sleep for a really long time. So what happens after death is not scary to me. I think some of my personal experience has kind of given me a different outlook, maybe some of my fear on death. When I was young, my grandfather died, and that really had a toll on my family. So I think the thing that I fear about death most is not, the act of dying or what happens to me after death. It's the impact that my death has on the people around me. I think that to me is the biggest thing that is scary about death. And as far as not fearing death, I did have one of the people I interviewed, my friend Cole. I was quite surprised to learn that he did not fear death. Um, I knew that there were some people that don't fear death. There's different reasons people don't fear death, as we learned in the Vsauce video. What's the scariest thing out there? He talked about death couldn't be it because there were plenty of people that didn't fear it. People who commit suicide, or elderly people who've lived a long life and say they're ready to die, or whatever the case may be. Maybe it's in Cole's case, it's his religion. He knows where he's going when he's dead, and none of the act of dying really is a fear for him. So that was kind of a stark contrast to my response. I was quite surprised by that, but he did say that his lack of fear of death did make him more aware of his own mortality and kind of gave him the ability to kind of think about things like the fact that he could die at any time, in his day-to-day life, and allowed him to make more meaningful time with the people that were around him, and try not to leave things on bad notes with people, because you never know when the last thing you're going to say to somebody is. So that was an interesting interview. It was nice to see a different perspective on it. I also interviewed my sister. She had much more similar ideas to me. Um, she did fear death. She kind of is the same as me. She just in her daily life just does simple things to try and not die, not playing in traffic or doing crazy stuff that's gonna have you a high likelihood of getting killed. But her root, what made her fear death was different from me. She said for her it was the unknown of what happens to you after death that was the scary part of it. So, but that's one of the crazy things about death and the fear of death is not everybody has the same fears of death or fears it for the same reason or even fears it at all. And that goes back to something Dr. Hernandez has said in lecture and says a lot of the time. It's that not everybody can see the water. In this case, the water being the fear of death. Some people they see it, but they see it differently than you do, or they don't even, in like Cole's case, don't even see it at all. They have no fear of death. It's just something that doesn't even occur to them as being frightening. Um, but yeah, that's pretty much it. Thank you for taking the time to listen.